which players should you add before week 4 of the fantasy football season? Welcome, football fans and fantasy freaks. I'm Money Mitch, and I'm here to give you the must-adds for week 4 and the players that maybe, just maybe, can save your fantasy season. Because you're probably 0-3. You're desperate. And you're like, Mitch, give me something. Give me a player that can put me back in the playoff race. If you're 1-2, maybe you have injuries. You need a flex or two. Or potentially you're 3-0. Congratulations. And you're looking for that player to put you over the top. Don't worry. I got you covered. We're going to go through every position. I'm going to give you 15 names on the waiver wire that can help your fantasy team in week 4. Let's get started. Gronk, spike the like button. And don't forget to subscribe for weekly fantasy tips just like this. Okay. The player that everybody is going to spend all their fab on. It's all gone. The number 1 player is Trey Benson, running back of the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner, great player, great guy, absolute monster. I wish him well. But Trey Benson is now the guy in Arizona. On Sunday, when Conner went down, 87% of the snaps, 71% of the attempts, and 50% of the routes. Benson is explosive. We've seen that earlier this season. We've seen that a little bit last year, and certainly coming into the NFL as a 3rd-round pick. Benson can hit the home run, but he's also proven that he can split time with James Conner and even be a bit of a workhorse. And he certainly was when James Conner went down. They trust him. He's the guy. Now, there will be other running backs that definitely blend into this backfield, and I'm going to actually discuss one of them. But Benson is the guy. So if you need an RB2, if you're desperate at running back, if you've had some sort of injury, if you have a bunch of busts in your backfield, then Trey Benson could be your man. If you're looking for a flex to put you over the top, you need that one final guy. Maybe you didn't quite hit on your wide receiver 4, right? Benson could still be that guy. So I'm all in on Trey Benson. There's not going to be many of these opportunities. If he is available in your league, he's a guy that I would spend on, right? Has a 13% target share on the season. He's a dual threat back. He can catch the ball. He's great in the screen game. He's explosive. This has been a very effective rushing game or running scheme over the last couple of years. Early this season hasn't been the same, but I still feel like if you can get a guy that's a mid RB2 on the waiver wire, it's just very, very difficult to find those guys, okay? So I would spend on him. He's the number 1 claim. He's the number 1 fab guy. He's the guy, okay? Now, I do want to stay in Arizona real quick because I do want to bring up DeMarcado because he's been one of my personal favorites. Like, not as a fantasy guy, but as somebody that always pops off the screen to me as somebody that might be worth a claim, might be worth a little small bid because he's explosive, man, and he can catch the ball, and he's a 3rd down type back, a change of pace type back. Like, literally, he had 9.3, guys, 9.3 yards per carry last year. 9. Not 4, not 5, 9. Okay, in his rookie year, this is his 3rd year. In his rookie year, he had a 4.9. And he has 37 catches over his first 2 seasons in the NFL. He's barely touched the ball so far. It's been James Conner and Benson like all day long. But DeMarcado is really good as a change of pace. He's just that guy that every time he seems to touch the ball, it could be a home run. So I'm thinking about it at least. Like, so he is the guy that should get some touches, especially maybe even some 3rd down opportunities in this offense. And the Cardinals need some explosiveness. That's for certain right now. Woody Marks is the next running back I want to talk about because there's been a notable change in Houston in terms of their usage of their backfield right now. So obviously, Nick Chubb has been the main ball carrier and the lead back for the Texans over the first few weeks of the season. But Woody Marks has played his way into a role. Okay, so Ogunbowale, however you say his name, bro, has been the third down back for the last couple of years in terms of being a pass blocker, occasional dump off catch guy, doesn't really have any fantasy relevance whatsoever. The only fantasy relevance he has is the ability to block and take away snaps from our fantasy relevant running back, whether it be Joe Mixon, whether it be Nick Chubb, right? Now he's out of the picture. He didn't even play on offense against Jacksonville. 0 snaps. 0. And that's also with Dameon Pierce being a healthy scratch. So the Texans basically had Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. That makes Woody Marks extremely fascinating. 1, we don't know when Joe Mixon is coming back, if he's coming back at all. 2, Nick Chubb is very old, has an injury history, and is not exactly Bijan Robinson, okay? Woody Marks has also gone up in snap share from 12% in week 1 to 28% in week 2 to 48% in week 3. He played 30 of the 63 snaps. He ran 19 routes on 43 dropbacks from Stroud on Sunday. I think he's certainly worth a pickup if he hasn't already been added. I was on Woody Marks before the year. I said it would probably take some time. It's getting to be time, especially with the Texans becoming desperate offensively. Woody Marks probably will play even more, maybe even over Nick Chubb sooner rather than later. So pick him up. Ollie Gordon. He may have been picked up. He may have been drafted. He may have been released. He's somebody that a lot of people in your league were probably high on. They saw the usage dip. They saw no production, and they probably dropped him off their team. He's somebody that caught my attention on Thursday night, and he probably caught your attention as well. Next Gen Stats credited Gordon with 7 missed tackles forced on 9 rush attempts. 7 of his attempts featured a missed tackle. He's powerful. He runs angry, and he's a much better in-between-the-tackle runner than Devon Achane. I'll say that, right? Achane might be the PPR scam of the year, but Gordon can get those short yardage plays. He did score a touchdown on the goal line, so he might be fantasy relevant, not only due to injury, but also potentially flexible if Miami continues to lean into their run game as they did against the Bills. And there will be better matchups than playing the Bills on the road. And it feels like Miami's offense is starting to get it going. So I think he's definitely worth stashing on your bench and continuing to see his evolution in the offense. He could be a nice little, occasional bye week fill, also potentially injury contingent upside as well there. Our number 1 wide receiver claim is going to be Ayu Manor, who I brought up numerous times, including before the season. Ellick had a really good start to the year in terms of usage, and it's just continued throughout the season. He's basically playing as much as Calvin Ridley. If you look at snap share, if you look at target percentage, he's as involved as a guy that we were picking in the 4th through the 7th round of fantasy drafts. If he is not on a team in your league, he should be, right? Unless you're like in a 4-man league, okay? 2 weeks in a row, he has a touchdown. 2 weeks in a row, he has 4 catches, back-to-back weeks. He's a downfield target. He's a red zone target. He's got good size. And Cam Ward clearly trusts him. He's somebody that could easily be a flex player, a wide receiver 3 type, if he continues to produce this way. And he's proving some consistency within the offense. His role is very consistent. And the thing about Tennessee, they will also be consistently trailing, which means more pass attempts. Tyquan Thornton of the Chiefs. Regretfully, I have to admit that Tyquan Thornton might not be a bad pickup at this point. He's a Patriot draft pick, 2nd rounder, who was a complete bust for my team. And he's gone on to play a pretty crucial role in Kansas City, at least until Worthy and Rice return. He actually leads the NFL right now in average depth of target, ADOT. 25 yards down the field. He is a complete vertical stretcher, deep threat. Speed, speed, speed. He ran a 4.2 something in the 40 once upon a time. 3 third down catches in that game against the Giants. One of them for a touchdown, 5 catches for total, 71 yards and a touchdown. 80% target share. Tyquan Thornton is going to be inconsistent. He doesn't have the best hands. He's not the most crisp route runner. But what he can be for this offense is something that no one else on the offense currently can be, which is a deep threat and a explosive option. They have zero explosiveness. So until Worthy returns, until Rice returns, Thornton is certainly an option to be a flex player in your lineup. So he's worth a pickup. And his target share, his ADOT, it's all great for fantasy football, in my opinion. The Dallas receivers, I quickly need to discuss this because CeeDee Lamb could be out for about a month or so. There's 2 of them that are worth considering. First of all, Jalen Tolbert may be the one that's more kind of well-known in terms of his fantasy relevance over the last couple of years. 6 targets for Tolbert last week against Chicago in garbage time, essentially. But Tolbert is a natural slot receiver, and he could take over that role for CeeDee Lamb. There could be a decent floor for him on a weekly basis in PPR leagues until Lamb returns. Kavontae Turpin is also a guy that extremely explosive. Probably the best returner in all of football. He's had a relevant role in this offense. He's been consistently utilized, and without CeeDee Lamb, there's not going to be as many pure drop-back pass attempts, I would assume. So there's probably going to be more screens to a guy like Turpin, more reverses, ways to get the ball in the hands of dangerous playmakers because you don't have CeeDee Lamb for the foreseeable future. And Turpin is that guy that could give them some pop, some energy, some explosiveness to the offense. So I actually like Turpin as a potential pickup here. He does feel like he has a high ceiling in any given week. He can score a vertical touchdown. He can return a punt. You know, he can catch 4, 5, 6 passes in a game. Tolbert feels a little bit more like a floor play, while Turpin plays more like a ceiling play. So either way, I think they're both pick-upable. Next, you've got Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin had a touchdown against the Patriots that won them the game. He's been 3rd in the NFL in air yardage share. 3rd in the NFL behind only elite names. 55%. Now, a lot of that comes down to Pittsburgh has been a complete screen offense. They are dink, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, and dunk. Now, Calvin Austin has been stretching the field and going down the field. He is clearly the number 2 receiver in Pittsburgh, and if he's not already picked up, he's another guy that he scored 2 touchdowns in 2 out of the 3 games, right? He has 4 or more targets in every game he's played. He clearly has a role, and he is fast, and he can stretch the field. So another guy that could be a flex play if you're a little desperate at wide receiver. Christian Kirk. This is going to be the guy that I feel like probably slips under the radar because he didn't really do much, and he just returned against Jacksonville, and it's a terrible offense with the Houston Texans. But 8 targets in his first game with CJ Stroud. 8. Right? He immediately played the role of the slot for this offense, 79% route share. He also had an impressive 98 air yards. So maybe if they connect and they get a little bit more chemistry between CJ and Christian Kirk, we could see this role becoming something like a Stephon Diggs light from last year, and definitely a good PPR play each and every week. So Christian Kirk, worth holding on to if you drafted him. He's also worth picking up if you didn't. Trey Tucker had a massive 40-burger in week 3. A lot of it being garbage time, a lot of it being behind the scoreboard on, that game against the Washington Commanders. He has 4 touchdowns in 3 weeks. He scored 3 touchdowns against the Commanders in all different ways, shapes, and forms. But Trey Tucker, I think the biggest thing I could say about him is they have Jacoby Myers. They have Brock Bowers, who right now is beat up, clearly, if you watch him play. Trey Tucker is clearly their best downfield receiver. And Geno Smith likes throwing the ball down the field. And this week, they played the Chicago Bears. So I think we're going to find out about Trey Tucker rather quickly. He had some moments last year. I think he's twitchy. He's fast. He can go vertical. He can play inside. He can play outside. He's more mature and developed than not a Tyquan Thornton, but a Dante Thornton in Las Vegas. And Geno seems to like him, and they connected at a high rate. I think it was like 8 catches on 9 targets to something to that degree. And again, Bowers, Myers working short intermediate. Neither of them have vertical dimension. Tucker's going to be a guy that continues to get shots down the field. And Geno likes to throw the ball down the field. And against Chicago, we're going to find out whether it was a fluke or not, because Chicago can't cover anybody. So Tucker's worth a pickup this week for sure. At tight end, Hunter Henry needs to be in a starting lineup. He needs to be. Not even on the bench. He needs to be on a starting lineup. And if he's on your bench, I'd consider looking to, maybe trade your tight end and play Hunter Henry, or trade Hunter Henry or something, because he is a startable tight end. He's definitely a top 12 option. He's tied for first in receptions for the Patriots with Stephon Diggs. He leads the team in yards and in touchdowns this year. He has a 66-yard game in week 1 and a 90-yard game in week 3. 90 yards against the Steelers led the team. And this is not on a bad offense. Drake May actually is 5th in passing yards this year. And they should have scored 30 points against the Steelers. I mean, they turned the ball over within the 5-yard line twice against the Steelers. So Hunter Henry is a very sneaky, I think, consistent week-to-week tight end. McDaniels loves the tight end position. Drake May has great rapport with Hunter Henry. He always looks for him in the red zone. He always looks for him on third down. He's a startable player every single week of the season. And then Isaiah Likely. If Isaiah Likely is on your waiver wire, he should be picked up. People are starting to drop Mark Andrews. Now, we will see what they look like on Monday Night Football. Mark Andrews, what he looks like. He has one final opportunity to prove us wrong. But Isaiah Likely, if he's available, somebody other than Zay Flowers has to catch the ball in the offense. And Isaiah Likely is extremely talented. If he looks anything like the guy that he looked like last year, he's already surpassed Mark Andrews on the depth chart in my mind. So Isaiah Likely has that type of upside, that type of boom with a very good quarterback and a very good offense that likes to play multiple tight ends. He's worth picking up. He's worth stashing, especially if you have a very poor tight end position. At quarterback, Geno Smith. Geno Smith is 2nd in the NFL in passing yards. This is a bit of a streamer because I don't think Geno's an every week player. But he's scored 18 points one week in week 1 against the Patriots, over 300 yards. He led the league in yards in week 1. And then he tossed 3 touchdowns in week 3. He had a 26-point week in week 3. So that's 2 pretty good weeks out of 3 so far. And he's 2nd in the NFL in passing yards, only behind Justin Herbert. He also gets the Chicago Bears at home in the Dome. And the Bears defense is bad. So Geno Smith could certainly be a streamable option this week if you're looking for a quarterback. Now, the defensive streamers, I like my Patriots defense at home against Carolina. Patriots before last week were leading the NFL in sacks. Christian Gonzalez, their best defensive player, might return this week. He was very close to playing against the Steelers, and that would completely transform their defense. They also completely dominated the Steelers' offense for 90% of that game. One of the touchdowns that Pittsburgh scored was due to a short field fumble by Ramondre Stevenson. The other one was after a pass interference at the 1-yard line. So a little bit unfortunate for their defense, but I think they're trending in the right direction. They get another home matchup. They're playing a beat-up Carolina offensive line, and they might get Gonzalez back to shut down Tet McMillan. So I think that's a great matchup for the Patriots. And finally, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, they have a good matchup as well. They play the Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco's been a turnover machine. The offensive line is sketchy. The Lions defense is a little bit of a chaos defense. I think that they overall are solid against the run. I think they can. The Cleveland just hasn't. When's the last time they scored 20 points? Honestly, so this just feels like a very safe defensive play in Detroit. And probably nobody has them on their team because nobody's starting them against Lamar Jackson on the road. So Detroit's definitely out there if you need a defense for the week. There it is, guys. Waiver Wire Week 4. The players that you need to pick up. If I had to make a proclamation, if I had to say, okay, go get this guy. I mean, obviously you're getting Benson. I feel like things are only trending up for Woody Marks as somebody that I would really be looking forward to having on my bench. Okay. I think that if you need a spot start next week, I feel like you couldn't go wrong with Sterling Shepard or Tyquan Thornton. A.O. Manor, I think, is more of a long-term, probably a wide receiver 3 flexible player for the rest of the year. I think sneaky pickup would be Christian Kirk, and I think you need to pick up Hunter Henry if you need a tight end. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. It's Mitch. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. More content coming soon, including players that I think you should trade for in week 4. Peace.